it's not too often we get to see a compressor cut open. So why don't you tell everyone knows what a compressor is, everyone knows what it does, but just walk me through here.
All right, so what we have here, this is one of our training kits that's available for educators.
Okay.
Whether it's going to be a trade school or a contractor that wants to put on any type of training. This is one of our compressors that we had returned that we cut open to demonstrate what's going on the inside of the compressor. Right here, you can see if we go ahead and turn this, what's going to happen is it's going to show you the operation of the compressor as it's moving. The shaft is going to move in a rotational force, and then we have a piece here called the Oldham coupling that's going to transfer that rotational force into an orbiting force and let the scroll set move. Okay. So that's what this is demonstrating here. Also, you're going to be able to see that it's a hollow shaft in here. It's going to show how the oil goes up through the
I was just going to ask about that.
Down at the bottom, work its way up in here to the top bearing, and then you're going to actually have your oil return come out here.
Oh, okay.
So this is just going to demonstrate the simple operation of the 7 moving parts of the compressor.
Okay. So from a compressor man, how do these go bad? What happens?
So these are some of the ones that we've had returned to us.
Okay.
So this one starting here, this is a compressor that came back to us. It was one of our warranty compressors. We cut it open. 1 out of every 3 compressors that's returned to us, we tear down.
Oh, interesting.
And try to figure out what's going on with it, to see if there's a flaw with any of our processes or what's going on with it. But this one here, you can take a look at the inside of it here. It's actually going to be a standard wear and tear one. It came back to us as a misdiagnosis. So you can see there's just tiny little markings on here, but you can even see a little bit of oil film still on there. So that's going to mean that it was properly lubricated, it was operating as possible. When we turned it out, plugged it in, it turned on, ran. So this was a misdiagnosis compressor. We're going to move over to this one here. You're going to start to see all these little markings on the outside. It's the gulling, where the scroll sets were actually making contact with each other.
Okay. Wow.
So it's going to start to get that shinier sheen to it. It's going to have the metal markings on there. That means liquid refrigerant at some point got back into the compressor, diluted the oil down, so the compressor's not being operating in proper
okay, it just broke the oil down, just broke it apart essentially?
Broke it apart. It wasn't lubricating properly, and you can actually see the fingers on the tabs here that are going to be on this part of the scroll set.
Okay, all right. I was saying it looks like somebody beat it with a hammer.
Yeah, those broke off partly because of all that extra wearing, and that ultimately led to the issues with this compressor. But the main cause of it, the root cause of it, was that oil dilution.
Okay, interesting.
So then this one here was another one. It had oil dilution, but along with that, you can see there's some rust forming on here.
Oh, so that's not just from sitting out at multiple trade shows?
Correct. That's actually going to be caused by a non-condensable getting into the system. So the system wasn't pulled down to a proper vacuum at startup. So there was air or water, something that shouldn't have been in the system there. So then the compressor has to overwork, and then also with the oil dilution, those were the 2 issues on this one. Yeah.
So so you talk about the oil dilution. What about the heat? You said it's working too hard. Does temperature become a factor in a compressor that burns it up?
Overheating will also be a factor. This one doesn't have, it's got small signs of it. There's going to be a little bit of discoloration in here. Okay. If you have a compressor that's truly overheated, it's going to start to short circuit the motor and stator.
That's what I was going to ask is, I associate overamping with overheating, so how's it not protecting itself thermally, or is there a way for it to protect itself?
There are thermal overloads that will kick it off on, depending on the compressors and what it's all built with. But yeah, the other thing that a lot of compressors run into is when you have the oil dilution, metal shavings start to work their way down and fall into the compressor. And it's very small tolerance between the motor and stator. You're going to see that in some of our other cutaway compressors that we have here, of how close that is. And when that shavings actually fall in there and touch, it's going to stick to that motor and stator, and then that when they touch, it's going to cause them to short out, and that's ultimately going to be your electrical failure that you find.
Awesome.
And that'll have that distinct smell to it of the compressor.
Oh, yes, and I'm sure plenty of people watching have. Even I have, and I don't have much of an HVAC particular background, but yeah, even I have smelled a burned up, disastrous compressor. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. Thanks for the information. I appreciate it.